What's up, and welcome back to Opposites Attract Podcast. This is Sonja Ramirez, your girl, and I'm sitting next to
Miguel Ramirez.
What's up, everybody? How is your day?
How was your week?
How is your life?
Going. Look at this. I'm talking about multitasking.
Right?
And today, make sure you guys go to our website, oppositesattractpodcast.com. Share it with the people that you know. When you guys go to our website, you'll see how you can follow the podcast there. You'll see all of our social media. You can find us on all of our social media just by searching Opposites Attract Podcast, and you can find us everywhere. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, everywhere. Just search Opposites Attract Podcast, or you can search the handle at Opposite Pod. And when you go to our website, you can send us a message. You can click on the links to support the show by shopping through Amazon. Yeah, you can get to know us a little bit, all kinds of stuff.
All that good
We'll
stuff.
tell you more about that later. What's up, babe? I'm back.
Baby.
I'm back.
Oh, my goodness.
I was out of town for a week.
Yes.
Yeah, to Connecticut for work.
Mm-hmm. I feel like we haven't really had a whole lot of, we had some really good quality time
Yeah.
the day after you came home. Or was it the day of? Whatever.
No, it was the day of.
Yes, he remembers that very clearly. Yes, so good, so good. You know what? Let's talk about that. I wasn't going to get into this, but I think we should, because I think it's very important. I mean, we do talk about sex on this podcast. You all know, those of you that have been listening to us, we do not hold back when it comes to sex, for sure, because it is so, it's so important. And I know that you guys agree on that as well. You know, a lot of individuals that I come across, just like friends, even strangers, because strangers have been telling me their business as well. It's one of the highest complaints of not having that communication or that communion together.
Communion?
Yes. You got that?
Nice.
And that's one of the biggest complaints that you get. And so we've talked about communication in the past when it comes to being in a relationship, but the communication also is very imperative behind closed doors.
Mm-hmm.
And we have been communicating for 15 years, 16 years.
Yeah,
we were having sex before we were married.
It's important, to communicate. You like that shit?
Right. And things change as you mature, as you get wiser. And we can talk about that a little bit, but at the beginning, when you and I first got together, of course, the sex is always amazing, good, right? At the beginning, it's good. You guys are getting to know each other and everything is new, right? Everything is new. So there's not a whole lot of work that you really have to do.
Do you think that maybe for some people, because in the beginning, when you first meet someone, it's you're probably not going to fucking just let all the freak shit out the first time you're
not
with somebody.
Going to suck their fingers on the...
Well, I mean, you do.
Shut up.
But I'm saying... But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not going to be well, I mean, maybe today, fucking, I don't know.
Yeah.
Shit's different. We've been married for 15 years.
Right.
Motherfuckers doing all kinds of shit on the first date now. Oh, shit.
Well,
but what I'm saying is maybe if you're kind of holding back in the beginning of the relationship, right? Because you're not trying to scare anybody away, right?
But don't
listen,
you want to perform at your highest?
That doesn't mean you can't perform. You're just not letting it all out there. All the stuff that you're into or whatever. Because you're I don't know if they'll be into that. But the thing is that, you were talking about the communication and all that, if you hold that back and you just continue to hold that back, doesn't that just make it harder in the future? You know what I mean? You got to get the communication going, pretty soon after you get together. You know what I mean? Because you're probably going to hold back a little bit in the beginning.
Yeah, but things can always adjust, right? Maybe you were not
that's
freaky at the beginning. Maybe that's not.
That's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that in the beginning, you're not letting it all out. But some people will still hold back through the Like, do you think that there's people that just never start opening up about that because they're uptight about it?
Do you feel you were that way?
No.
No?
No. I don't think so, babe. Fucking think about it. From the beginning, we've been doing all kinds of shit.
It took us a while.
No, fucking 2 weeks. Fucking 2 weeks.
Babe,
we're fish hooking and
we were
ball
not
gagging and shit.
I just, I had to teach you a little bit, the ways. I had to, let you know that what was up. No, but I can't speak for everyone else. So listeners, reach out to us. Let us know.
I do think that would be like because it not in the same thing, but almost kind of like when you haven't called somebody for a long time. Like the longer you wait to call somebody, the harder it becomes to call that person.
Right.
Now, if you start a relationship with somebody, you don't want to let your fucking freak flag fly yet.
Why?
Because you don't want to scare them off, like I said. And then you're holding back. But then you never actually start opening up. So now the longer you are in this relationship, it's harder for you to open up and let the fucking freak shit out that you want. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know if that happens to people. It's just a thought. It doesn't happen to us because, they know. We talk about it.
Well, we're trying to, try to.
Don't be looking at me like I might be holding some shit back. We got to fucking swing upstairs, all right?
That's not what I was looking. I wasn't looking at you that way. I was just trying to understand what you were saying because of who we are. But you walked into that. You just walked into that, dude, though. Like there was no holdbacks. You accidentally probably went into a drawer and found all my stuff and was like, all right.
You didn't have that much stuff. You had some stuff. But that's fucking normal, babe. You act like that's some crazy shit. That ain't fucking crazy.
I don't know what's crazy and I don't know what's all crazy. I don't know. I only know me.
Yeah.
Right? And I know people that I'm surrounded by, anyway, like friends and stuff. And yeah, not so much. You would be surprised. Sometimes it isn't.
Yeah.
It
just depends.
Very common, right? Yeah. But what I was getting to is the importance of communicating in the bedroom. And in order to be able to communicate in the bedroom, the communication also has to be opened in the relationship itself.
Yeah.
It's not going to start in the bedroom. The trust and vulnerability starts with the communication, the everyday communicating and knowing how to communicate and learning how to listen, because that is not something that just naturally occurs. I mean, I wasn't as graceful when I communicated with you at the beginning or the way I would speak. There's times where I was very direct. You were very direct, right? And which would flare up miscommunication or disagreements or arguments.
I think getting used to, like you said, the communication, but communicating on things that are a little bit more uncomfortable that you normally wouldn't. Like when you do something that kind of bugs me in the beginning of the relationship or whatever. And it's one of those things that you could just either let it slide or like leave it alone, or you kind of say something about it, right? But there is also a way to say something. And if you can think of a way to say something about the situation in the right way where it's not going to offend you and you're going to take it the right way, then that is taking the steps towards communicating the right way, which can lead into doing that in the bedroom where you're talking about something intimate that might feel uncomfortable to talk about, but you say it in a way that's like, hey, let's do this. Let's try this. Let's whatever, and it's kind of like the more you practice on communicating during uncomfortable situations, it'll be easier to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yes, for sure.
And communicating all the way around.
So what are some tips that you can give our male listeners when it comes to how to communicate with their significant other?
Shit.
What are some things that you've learned? What are some adjustments that you have made? In order to bring that communication into our relationship?
Well, it's like I just said. I mean, that's probably the best thing that I could say is like you were talking about earlier. You start working on the communication of everything, the little things. You start with the little things and then you work your way up.
Well,
and
I
this
can
is
tell
one of
you
the more
what I'm saying is I can bark at you and say, trash needs to be taken out or take the trash out. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and then
I'm
it's not going to happen.
That's what I'm saying.
That doesn't work
because that's what
saying.
I'm trying to get.
Yeah, well, if you're trying to have sex and you say something like that to me, well, that is, it's, I've heard it different, like the same for men and women. Like, yeah, you get a response like that. If you're trying to get fucking sex from me and you're barking shit at me like that, it's probably I'm not gonna be in the fucking mood to do any of that shit. I'm gonna be like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You know?
But I was kind of that way at times, right?
And it also depends on different people's personalities. Like, some relationships are different.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody that listens to our shows like that, but some people allow people to talk to them that way. I don't. I've never have.
I don't think anyone likes to be disrespected.
But if you're trying to get something, that's not the right way to go around it.
Yeah. So what I noticed for myself and what's helped us become or helped me become a better communicator and just paying close attention to the way I communicated with Miguel. Are you good, buddy? You swallowed coffee the wrong way. You guys excuse Miguel.
Fucking first time ever. Holy shit, I'm crying. That shit went. I started shaking. I was going to spill that shit all over myself.
Oh, no.
Holy crap.
But I noticed that I, at times, could be a bit impatient and direct. And when I started noticing and listening really to this myself and how I was communicating, I knew, and reading books on how to communicate.
Yeah.
Right? The 5 love languages, just really stepping into knowing more about men and women because we are so different. And a lot of times I can say something and it not come out the way I meant it. And then you take it in a certain manner.
Yeah. Like there's probably a more tactful way to say something.
Right.
Instead of, I think like that's communication. That's what I was just talking about, and I think it's different for different relationships, but I think we talked about something similar a few weeks ago where, like there's times when you could be upset and then, like we need to fucking work this out in the bedroom. And it's like, I'm still fucking pissed, and I really don't fucking feel like it right now. You know what I mean? And there's like and then you get mad at me and I'm like, fucking no. And then it's frustration and, so those are, and it all stems from the communication in the beginning.
Yeah.
Right?
If you take time to think about what you're going to say before you say it, helps tremendously. It's helped me.
We talked about that a little while ago.
Lot.
Where you take a moment and just don't say anything.
Yeah. And just coming from a place of respect and love. Make sure that you're always coming from a good place.
It's kind of like that saying, you attract flies with more flies with what? What is it?
It's
more bees with honey than shit or something?
Why are you trying? Dude, don't look. If you don't know what you're going to say, don't say it. No.
Hey, hold on. What's that saying where you attract flies with shit or honey or something? There you go. That's the quote.
Oh my goodness.
But it's
because
true.
It all starts there. Yeah. And then once that, and two, just being able to trust the other person and being able to be vulnerable and know that the person knowing that there's not going to be any judgment, right?
Yes.
Because what if you're into something, we haven't tried it yet, and you come up with, something and and you and I have not created that space of vulnerability, trust, respect, all that, like the foundation.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you bring some shit up and I look at you and I'm like, are you gay?
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
It's just like being able to have
It's like you want to dress up in a fucking balloon or something, like a fucking latex, like what the fuck,
But
Hey man, don't judge me.
But that all rolls into like
Yeah.
behind closed doors,
Yep.
and I think that's where you and I have ironed out a lot of our differences because we're able to speak to each other and really just have that relationship where there is no holdbacks.
Yeah.
Because I am here to please you.
Yeah.
And
I love pleasing you too. It's
it's
we
fun.
take care of
Were
each
you
other.
gonna say it's fun? It
take care of
looks
each
like
other.
you're gonna be like, it's fun. And there's times where it changes because before I was a bit more aggressive in the bedroom. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Has there been a shift?
Yeah. I mean, you chill out more because I think you realize that I don't like that.
I didn't actually.
Well, you've noticed over the years. Like when you try to rough me up, it's like I'm not into that shit.
No, babe. I'm talking about like when you spank me or that. Yeah. Like I used to be a little bit more.
Yeah. True.
And I would love to grip you but I wasn't rough towards you. I just wanted it rough.
Yeah.
That's what I was talking. What were you talking about? Well,
Some people like get fucking beat and shit.
Yeah, but
I'm
has
just like,
that ever
that's not
been?
me.
I never.
I'm saying
tried
like
to.
depending on the person, some people like to be fucking put in their place in the bedroom. It's like, that's not me. Don't try to put me in my fucking place.
But have I?
No, but you kind of have. I'm sure people can fucking tell you kind of put that out sometimes. Like I'd fucking put you in your, like try to anyway.
Yeah, but not
You know what I mean?
spank you. I'm just.
No, nobody fucking spanks a dude. Who the fuck spanks a dude?
Hey, you better take that shit back.
Or maybe.
Because you don't know. Exactly.
Sorry, no judgment.
You don't know.
No
exactly.
Hey, if that's what I just said.
Forgive him.
I just
if
said.
you like that, it's all good. I like to be spanked. It's all good.
Yeah. Whatever.
But anyways, that's what I'm saying. Like I liked it more rough. Like, right?
Well, you're a lot more fucking zen right now too.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like things can change. So I'm going to ask you live because I have not asked you this question. How is it now for you? Because it is, I feel, like I am. The way I perform is different. Just.
Yeah, it is different. What, like since you've been back from India?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how has
it's like
it
that
been
Kama
different?
Sutra stuff from India that you picked up or some shit. Like you read some books over there.
No, I didn't
you
actually. No, it's just.
Yeah. No, it's like you want to please and all that. I mean, yeah. I don't know, babe. What the fuck?
Have I not always wanted to please?
Yeah, but you've been different. Obviously, you can tell. You've been different since you got back from India. Yeah.
So that's all you're going to say? You're not going to give any, like...
I mean, what do you want? Do you want me to fucking start getting... Okay, so is that what you want? Is that what you want? So on Friday, when I got home, so we laid down in the bed. Do you want me to start giving a fucking play-by-play of Friday night?
So let me help you. For me, the way it's different is that even though I felt that we always were one, like we were in tune with each other, now it's as if we become one. Like we are very much in the same frequency. And it's very pure and intimate, and it's almost like a spiritual dance for me,
Yeah.
And it's always been good. It's just different, and it's very hard to explain, but it is very spiritual for me.
Well, it's because you're a lot more present, and you're trying to be present, and you're connected and all that. Yeah.
Yeah. And Is that how you feel when
Yeah.
it's?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's called Tantra sex. No.
Okay.
I didn't have a name for it. But Cordelia, I was talking. So I've been having a lot of sleepovers lately.
You have been. You've been having sleepovers every weekend. You're like a fucking teenager.
Slumber parties.
Slumber parties every weekend.
So I have a friend here from Washington. She's staying with us. She's a speaker, author. We got to we'll interview and see if, we're going to have her on the podcast. She's amazing. So more than likely. But yeah, that's what she coaches on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I didn't know. And when she's explaining to it, I'm like, that's us. And I wasn't even trained on that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But all this came up because of you being back. Like, I missed you. Oh my goodness. You were gone for 5 days. And while you were gone, I was cleaning the house and dusting. And I came across our picture.
Yeah.
Our wedding picture. And while I'm dusting it, I haven't really taken a moment to read all the messages. Have you
I've
from
read them
your
from
brother,
time to time. Yeah.
your dad, and then I started thinking about our wedding itself and everyone that showed up. And during that moment, I started to like tear up and just was in a place of gratitude for where we are and just thinking about everything that we've gone through.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
And everyone was thinking that it was our anniversary because of the post that I put up. And I'm like, no.
But you were just taking a moment. Yeah.
Yes. And there's a lot of times where I'll write a post trying to describe the love that we have, and it's hard to describe it. And I realized there's no words that can describe it. It's a feeling that can be felt. Like you feel it, but there's no words that can describe what it is that I feel with us.
Yeah. It's like trying to explain the feeling of presence. Like when you're in nature.
That's so
like
good.
when you see the rings of Saturn. How do you fucking explain what that feeling is? You can't.
And while I'm going through this, I send you a message just telling you like, how much like I love you. And I sent you a picture. And there were some people, there was one person in particular that didn't show up.
Yeah.
And during that time, like I got a download of everyone that was supposed to be there was there.
Yeah.
And I had sent that, like, I'm so proud to be your wife. We have created a great life and we are just getting started. But even if we stayed exactly where we are, like we won. And you agreed. You're just like, I agree. You're the best, babe.
Yeah.
And then I just started thinking about all the things that we've gone through. And it's just, I'm so grateful for you. And when you were gone, you sent me a message about the museums. And do you want to share any of that?
Yeah. Yeah. So kind of, you were having that moment about our relationship. And I've had that moment too. Like there's times kind of, like when you've caught me before when I'm just kind of like looking at the kids and looking at you. A lot of times it's when we're making dinner or just all hanging out when we're having dinner or getting ready for dinner or something. And the whole family's downstairs and it's just fun. You know what? It's been cool. Like the get together that you had with some of your friends. And like, it is cool for like people to see. And it's weird because this happens here almost every day.
It's not an act.
It's not like because people are over, we're in the kitchen helping each other out and cooking and cleaning stuff up. It's like an everyday thing, just about, But yeah, so when I was in Connecticut, I was for one, whenever I travel, I do, like I've said, I get to go to some pretty cool places sometimes, and if I'm gonna go somewhere, of course I would always rather have you guys with me, depending on the place. There's some places that fucking can suck sometimes, and those I would rather not. Like when I go to fucking Slauson in California, you guys can fucking stay somewhere else. But if I'm going to Huntington Beach, it'd be kind of nice for you guys to be with me, you know. But that is always like my first thought is when I see something, I'm like, wow, look at that. And then my next thought is, I wish you guys were with me, you know? And then I get a little sad. But then it's like, what am I going to do? I'll just enjoy it, you know, enjoy myself, and I'll be back soon. And then one day, maybe hopefully we can all, like Boston is a city that I want all of us to go to, because it was just, and maybe once everybody's a little bit older, like the kids are older and they can appreciate the history of Boston, kind of like Rome, you know?
Yeah.
Something like that. But that's kind of like my first thing, is just wishing that you guys were there. And so while I was on this trip, I went to Connecticut and I got the chance to go train jiu-jitsu, which, you know, I've had a lot of fun with that. And there's, you know, some stuff that, you know, I can share about that. But I also went sightseeing in Connecticut and checked out Mark Twain's house and went to some dams and just kind of enjoyed nature and the lakes and the bumblebees and
yes.
the waterfalls. Like here in Arizona, we seek out waterfalls. Like we have to go look for running water on a hike, and it's like a little fucking dribble of something sometimes, you know, unless it rains and then you get a little more water. Over there, I was just driving like on a highway. There was nobody there, and I looked, you know, to my right, and there's a freaking like legit waterfall coming down. And then here we get excited when you see like water dripping down rocks. You know, it's like a couple drips.
Yeah.
And then I'm like looking, and it's just doing that down the whole side of this, you know, mountain.
Yeah.
And I just pulled over and started walking around the side of the road and just like listening to the water and watching the waterfall. And I took a couple pictures. I don't even know what, you know, where that was all headed, but there was go ahead.
It was because, well, the reason why I was asking you about your trip was because you were having a moment.
Yes. So while I was there, you know, I went and I did some sightseeing. I trained jiu-jitsu. And then I think it was like the second to last day that I was there. I had a little bit of time after work. And there was an air museum like right by the place that I was staying. And for me, you know, I've been in aviation for 20 years. And for me, an air museum, like I've seen all kinds of aircraft in my life. Like I've worked on all kinds of different stuff in my life. So an air museum is like, I'm going to go look at more nuts and bolts and engines on, you know, on stuff. And for a moment, like I thought maybe I'll just go do something else instead. But then for some reason I was like, it's right here. Let's just, like, I wasn't even planning on going in. I was like, let me just go check out and see how much it costs, see what they have. Cause maybe it's a small one and I'm not that interested, but let's go see. So I drive to the air museum. And before we get into that, make sure you guys go to oppositesattractpodcast.com and share with the people that you know. When you guys go to our website, you'll see all of our social media there. You'll see how you can follow the podcast. Babe, you can tell them about the resource list that'll pop up as soon as they go to our website.
So when you go to our website, a resource list will pop up. And the resource list has books that we've read, videos that we looked at, podcasts, just things that we have used to help us to grow in our relationship, in parenting, in finances, just all of that. And what's so important about the resource list is that one day Miguel is going to say something that's going to get us
canceled.
Because he has a
and that way,
big mouth.
You can stay in touch with us.
Yes. And so, and not only that, but we've been talking a lot of shit, but this is something that we truly want to do, is start having direct contact with you all. So if you leave us your email, your information, it gives us your personal information.
And also like those videos, if you've ever had a moment where like you've thought something for a really long time and then you learn something and you're like, wait a minute, that's not how I really thought. Or like, wow, that's a different way to look at that. A lot of those videos are things that have made us think that way.
Right.
It's like we've done things for like parenting. We do things for, like, shut up and do what I told you because I said. And then you watch something and you're like, wow, I've never thought about it like that.
Right.
And it just completely changes your perspective on something.
And
that's the kind of stuff that we try to put in that resource list.
Yes.
So, so you guys can download that when you go to our website. You can also follow all of our social media by clicking the links at the top of the website. Like I said, at Opposite Pod on everything, or you can just search Opposites Attract Podcast, or you can just Google Opposites Attract Podcast. At this point, it comes up whenever you guys search it. And you guys can get a hold of us. If you guys want to send us a message, give us a call, send us a question. You can be anonymous, and we can answer your questions on the show. Or if you just want to send us a comment and let us know how we're doing, you can call us at 480-331-9846. And if you want to support the show, when you go to our website, you can click the Support the Show tab. When you click that, it'll take you to our Amazon link. Whenever you're doing any shopping on Amazon, if you click through that link and check out, it helps out the show. And we get a little kickback, and it doesn't cost you anything extra.
Yes, yes. And if you would, also, there's another spot where you can support us through Buy Me a Coffee. Is it listed in there?
No,
as
you can
well?
just go to buymeacoffee.com/oppositepod.
There you go. And it's a virtual coffee or drink.
A drink. Or you can subscribe on a monthly basis and support us that way. Just like we've said before, if we ran into a listener or one of you guys at a coffee shop and you're like, hey, we listen to the show, we actually be like, hey, we'd love to get to know you and buy you a coffee. And if you guys would like to buy us a coffee, you guys can do that virtually through buymeacoffee.com.
Yes, yes.
/oppositepod.
Yes.
So yeah, so I drive to this air museum and I start walking around and I decide that I'm gonna go in. And as soon as I walk in, I see an OH-6 Cayuse helicopter, which is like from the 70s. And in my career, I had the opportunity to work on little birds, on these little helicopters that are just badass, like badass helicopters. People that know helicopters, like they know those, like for their agility, just the performance. Like it's a really, really cool aircraft. And it's been around since the 70s. It's an iconic aircraft from Vietnam. And when I looked at it, I just started recognizing everything. Everything on, like, I was like, those windows, I've drilled those windows up and put them on.
Yeah.
And then I started looking at the blades on the helicopter and I was like, I've helped put those pins on and put those blades on helicopters before. I was like, and this thing is from like the 70s.
Yeah.
And then just in that moment, like that just kind of took me to a state of mind of just reflection on my career. And like, I really, it was funny because there was like a class of, I think they were like firefighter recruits that were just, it was very quiet. There wasn't a lot of people in the museum. I think there was only like 2 hours left before they closed. And, so they were kind of off, and like it was as soon as I walked through the door, and to the left was this helicopter, and I start looking at it, and I was just like, wow, man. Like, I've been a part of some things that are pretty special, you know? Yeah. Some things that are pretty cool. And just reflecting on my career, like starting in the Air Force, like I went from being a fucking meat slicer at a deli, playing football in high school, slicing cold cuts, cheese and ham and shit, to joining the Air Force. And then they taught me how to work on jets. And then I remember that, like I've said on here before, I remember being like worried getting my books, like being worried about what I signed up for. It's like, fuck, dude, what'd you do? You know, because you're going from being a fucking meat slicer in a deli to working on $40-something million fighter jets with somebody flying in it.
Jeez. It's amazing.
And I started reflecting on the hard days, the days that you don't want to be out there, the days that were fucking so hot in Arizona where it's like 125. The jets are running, so now it's like 140. You're getting blown on by these giant engines, and it's just miserable out there. But I've always had this thing where, yeah, fucking work sucks. It sucks for everybody sometimes. But there's always been this part of me that, like, I would take a moment to look And I was like, regardless of how shitty this fucking work is, this is some cool shit.
Yeah.
Like, I looking down the flight line and seeing a squadron of F-16s. I was like, this is fucking badass. And I think the reason that I felt all that, it's those feelings that you can't describe.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that it's like, I really felt like I'm doing something that I'm supposed to do, you know? Because I remember, for one, I started thinking about my parents. My mom, when I was a little kid, worked for TWA. So I used to fly with her. So I was in planes. My dad worked for Eastern Airlines. So I would fly for free with him. So we would take trips and I would always get in airplanes. And they never scared me as a little kid. I always thought they were the coolest, like fucking going up the stairs in a 747. That's something that has nothing to do with the military, my career, or anything. That's because of my mom working for TWA. That's not something that people get to do. And that's historic. Walking up the spiral staircase in a 747 to the second deck where first class is. I've done that because of my mom. That's like aviation history.
Wow.
You know, and you know, flying all over the place with my dad. So ever since I was a little kid, like airplanes have always, like the sky has always been something that I've enjoyed, that I've had a passion for. Like I'm to today, if there's a helicopter flying around or an airplane flying around, like I'm looking through the trees to see like, what is it? I probably wouldn't even know what it was, but I want to see what it is, you know, flying by. So yeah, so I'm in this hangar and I'm like thinking about all these things, like the hours that I've spent on the flight line, the fucking busted knuckles, you know, sweating, laughing with the guys, getting tied up, you know, and then leaving the military, learning sheet metal work, like feeling the pride of the work that I would do, like seeing things that I would put together, like come together.
Yeah.
You know, like building shit out of nothing, just metal, like giving me sheets of metal and like build me the skin for an aircraft or build all the, like repair all this shit. And then eventually like learning the skills to be able to do that kind of stuff. And then thinking about the people that taught me. Yeah, it's big.
Yeah. So Miguel's having this moment and he's sharing it with me. And what I thought, like I was feeling every moment with you.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, like, you deserve this. Like, you deserve everything. You deserve to have these experiences that you're experiencing and where you're at today. Like, you created all of this.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm not done.
And to see you out there, because you always send me pictures and, you know, you're sharing your experience with me. You call me on video chat.
I try to call you when I'm seeing stuff because I want you guys to see it there with me, you know?
And I can't help but feel so proud to be your wife. And I am so glad that you're having these opportunities and that you're spending this time alone.
Yeah.
Because if you weren't alone, I don't know if you would have these moments as profound as you've been having.
Yeah, maybe.
And being alone is a good thing at times. You know, it's because a lot of times some of us don't feel comfortable like being alone. Like he's having romantic dinners.
The most romantic dinners all by myself.
I know. He sends me these pictures and I'm like, oh, look at you having a romantic dinner.
Oh, I should have did it when the one with the mozzarella sticks. If you guys check out our Instagram, I posted a picture from Connecticut. But there's like this picture of these mozzarella sticks that look delicious.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, because so I went to that restaurant after I trained jiu-jitsu and it was late because that place, the jiu-jitsu place over there, like they stopped training at like 8:30. And the city's like 30 minutes away and I want to go eat at a nice place. So I drive like 30 minutes back into the city to go get dinner. So it's like already 9:30, like on a Wednesday. So the bar's not popping. Like people are going to work the next day.
Right.
So I show up and there's like a couple next to me. I order my food. They take off, and now it's just like me on one end of the bar and like a completely just empty bar for like 30 feet. And then there's like two people way down on the other end. And I'm just kind of like sitting there by myself. You know, I get my my mozzarella sticks, and I was like, I should take a picture of like me at the loneliest fucking dinner sitting here at the bar by myself.
Yes.
But it, you know, I sit there and like I watch the game and I talk to the bartender and just kind of enjoy myself and hang out. But yeah, it was a very special moment. I had a lot of gratitude for all, like I said, like all the people that have taught me, being able to show people some things over the years, you know, being able to grow as a person from working where I work and doing different things and having to learn different things and being in different positions.
So with all that said, as Miguel stated, he started as a mechanic, well, working on the Apaches, the little birds.
Yeah.
So you know what happens behind closed doors. You know the importance of the work that is being done on these machines, right? These airplanes. And now you are going into, you know, these suppliers, as an auditor, and knowing the importance of the work that's being put behind it.
Yeah.
And how many individuals in your space have that experience?
There's not many. There's not many that do what I do now that have the experience of being on the floor and working and actually like working on the aircraft and doing all the like putting stuff together, tearing stuff apart and fixing things.
Most individuals in your position,
they went to college and then got like an entry position, working in quality or something like that. But for me, it was a little bit different. There's other people that have done it that way, but yeah, it is different when you have somebody like that, because I take it a little bit different, where I know I literally have seen and felt the importance of what we do, because I know the pilots. I watch them. I hear the aircraft run up. I stand out there when it's running. If it fails, like, I know these guys are in it. I know them. I've trained jiu-jitsu with some of them.
Yeah.
Like, I know their families. I know this guy likes to play the guitar with his band on the weekends, and he's getting in this aircraft that's about to fly.
Right.
So it's to me, it's very important. And that's something that I do take very seriously. So when I get the chance to share that with some of the people that do work for us that I go visit, I let them know. I'm like, hey, this isn't just something that for me is like, the safety of what you guys do is the most important to me, Yeah.
So amazing.
But yeah, so I was having all these moments, like I said, the gratitude, working on F-16s, working on little birds, working on Apaches, the gratitude for the people that have taught me and the opportunities that I've had to grow and learn through the company that I'm at. And then I got somebody just walked up to me, one of the people that worked there. He was a volunteer. This guy named Herschel. He was an older guy. And this guy he's probably forgot more than I've ever known when it comes to aviation. And I've been doing it for 20 years. And it's funny because on my last trip, I was talking to this guy. He was like the manager at the company that I was visiting. And he was about my age. And I think everybody goes through this transition in their career where you're like the young guy, at least in what we do. Mm-hmm. Like, you start out being the young guy and you have all these old people telling you like, oh, I remember when I was, when I used to, and you hear all these stories from the old guys. And then little by little, you start to notice that you're not the young guy anymore. Like, you're not telling the young guy stories. And now you're starting to tell some people some of your stories when you were younger.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was something that when I went to go visit one of our companies, that I was talking to the guy, I was like, yeah, it's for me and for him. Like, we're both turning from where, like, now we're kind of like dropping advice on some people, like, hey, well, you might want to think about, because we're the ones that have been around for a little bit. It's been 20 years now.
Wow.
And so yeah, and then I go into the museum, and this old guy comes up to me, and and I'm talking to him, and he's had a career in aviation.
Yes.
And now he does tours at the museum because that's his passion. And you know what I was kind of thinking about? I was like, you know what? I could see myself being an old guy.
Aww.
Sharing with people doing that.
Cute.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Because that's what you do.
Aw. That's
Right?
so cool. Yeah.
That's
what life is about.
And that's what I would like when this guy, man, huge shout out to the New England Air Museum, Herschel, the tour guide. He was incredible. I don't know if they'll ever get to hear this, but he was so awesome that the time that he shared with me, I'm not gonna forget.
Yeah.
You know? And I remember when I was there, I saw like all these the chains to the aircraft, and I was like, man, it'd be so cool to be able to go up there and take a look at the cockpits and stuff. And when he came over, he's like, you know, I shared with him what I did and some of the things that I worked on, and he was like, you want to get in? And I was like, can I? And he was like, sure. He's like, let's go. And he opened it up, and he let me sit in the cockpit of like World War II fighter jet, not just a World War II fighter jet. The one, I think it was I can't remember what jet it was, but it had the most kills, German kills in World War II.
Wow.
He told me that when I was sitting in the jet or in the airplane, and I'm like it's just history. That I'm sitting in the cockpit of the guy that was flying this thing in World War II.
Wow.
And yeah, it was really special. He shared all kinds of stuff that I couldn't even imagine. Like the crazy, it's inspiring. It's inspiring seeing the history of aviation. The way people fucking did things. There were no excuses. It's like, I'm just trying to figure it out. And you tried and you crashed and you died. And they kept trying. And then you see that it's like, why would they do that? Why would they do it this way? It's because they didn't know any other way to do it. They didn't know that was a shitty way to do it. They learned. That's how you learn.
Right.
And then just to see like the change and the progress, you know?
Yeah.
I saw a freaking pilot's license for a woman signed in 1907 by Orville Wright. He's like one of the fathers of aviation, you know? Like it's pretty cool to see like all that stuff and spend that time with Herschel. That was really cool. And yeah, I told him that I really appreciated it, and yeah, it was a special moment.
Oh, that's so amazing. Thank you for sharing that. You shared, you know, I could feel your heart.
Yeah, and
hey,
what's up?
Have you ever thought about getting your pilot's license?
I have. I don't know. It's still not something that's like super important to me.
Okay. So it's not calling
it's
you
like,
yet.
It's like it is becoming a thought. And
that's how it begins.
Well, like we've talked about before. There's I think for people, we need, no matter what, always, we need a direction. We need something to work on. We need a purpose. We need a focus. And who knows, that might be one in the future. You know, because
I'm excited.
Well, because this is the truth. Like I start thinking about, and I've talked about this before. This is a good topic to end this show on, but not that we're ending right now. We still got a little time, but there's a lot of like all these things, these things that I've done in my career, in my life, like in our life. They're only things that have happened because we tried them. If you don't try them, nothing happens. It's like Michael Jordan said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. 100%. If you take the shot, you might make one. And people need something for growth. They need something to grow towards. Like that's something that if I was just with somebody yesterday, and you know, they're going through some things, and for me, the first thought is that when you're going through something, it's like you have to work on that, but you also need something that is going to push you And it could be your career. It could be your career. It just has to be something that you can focus on and do your best on. And for me, part of that right now is jujitsu, which that like it gives you that sense of accomplishment when you're making progress, when you're learning things, and when you're achieving stuff. Like I wasn't good at this not that long ago, and now look at what I'm doing, and now I'm getting better. And if it has to have a sense of purpose for you,
right?
You know, and it could be the podcast, it could be a coaching business, it could be a hobby, whatever it is, whatever you're passionate about, art. As long as you're working on it and trying to get better, I think that is something that people need like forever.
Yes.
And at a certain point, kind of like Herschel, you're not going to be able to climb up and down the aircraft and work on them all the time. So you're going to be sharing your knowledge and your stories with the younger people, you know?
Yes.
That's what being a black belt is. Because when you're a black belt, by the time you get, I mean, not always, because some black belts get them young. You know, if you've been training as a kid, you'll get your black belt maybe when you're 20 or something. But for me, I'm fucking 40 and I'm a blue belt. I'm not going to get my black belt till fucking, I don't know, 45, 50, some shit. But you know what? I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Because it's not about that. That's another thing that I also, that I'll also mention here. But when I do get my black belt, I'm going to be old. I'm going to be more hurt. I'm fucking hurt all the time. Every time I call you, it's like I fucking twisted my ankle. I got a new bruise here. My fucking elbow popped. This elbow popped. Now this shoulder popped. This fucking knuckles.
I'm like, baby, just wear a cup, okay?
And it's okay. But that's another story I was talking to Joey about. It's like at the end of my life, I want my body falling apart because I want to know that I did everything I could with this thing. And I enjoyed life. And but when I get older, I won't be able to beat the younger lower belts. They'll just be too strong. They'll be too fast. Yeah. And there'll be things that I won't be able to do. But at that point, I can still share my knowledge from competitions, from going to the World Masters tournament when I was 40. You know, the things that I've learned, the tricks that I've learned. Hey, when they do this is kind of sneaky. You might be able to pull this because this is what I try to do now that I'm old, you know, and just passing things down. That's, even though I'm not like religious or spiritual, that is something that it feels that way.
Right.
Not just, it's like a martial arts, it's a life thing.
Yeah.
Teaching lessons.
Continuing to grow.
To the next generations.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Yeah. And continuing to push ourselves.
Yeah.
You know? One thing that I was going to mention about that I wanted to mention was the journey too. This has to do with jiu-jitsu though. Not only, but you see it a lot where people are super focused on their ranks and their stripes. Like I've had people tell me like, I don't know if coach likes me because he hasn't given me a stripe or because they feel like they deserve a stripe or they deserve a new belt and the truth is, like, I've heard this before, and it's like your longest rank is going to be black belt. If you make it to black belt, that will be your longest rank. Because if I train for 20 years and it takes me 10 to get my black belt, I'll be a black belt for 10 more years. So what's the rush in getting to black belt? And I really have just enjoyed the process. I don't really care. Like I tell you, I put myself down all the time. You know, it's like fucking white belts beat me up. Purple belts beat me up. Blue belts beat me up. You're going to get fucking beat up by everybody. There's going to be people that give you a hard time. Just fucking leave the ego at the door. Learn something. Try to learn something. Try to show them something. And I'm just like, I do, you know, you do have a sense of pride for your rank or whatever, but it's not everything. I, more than anything, am just enjoying my process. Because the truth is, like, if I'm rushing to try to get to my next belt, it's almost like you're fast forwarding through. If I'm focused, like, I can't wait to get to purple belt. It's like I fast forward through blue belt. It's kind of like that movie Click.
Click. Yes, I was just going to, exactly. I was just thinking that, but I didn't want to interrupt you. Yeah, exactly.
And the moments are in between.
That's right. That is the journey. That is the dash. I was born 1977. The dash in between, then my death date. The dash in between is what matters.
You have to you have to understand, like, nobody, at least like in jiu-jitsu, nobody wants to be getting their asses beat. But you have to get your ass beat.
Yes.
To get that feeling. You don't get that feeling without getting your fucking head smashed in. Because it's the time that you can defend yourself so that you don't get your head smashed in, that you're going to get that feeling.
There's this book called Failing Forward. I don't know if we have this on the resource list, by John C. Maxwell. And that's exactly, I haven't read that book in a bit, but that's exactly what they talk about, failing forward.
Another, just to kind of tie this all together, retirement. So many people look forward to retirement. And especially, I mean, it's hard for me to think about, like, to say for other people, because I have a career where I am passionate about what I do. If I wasn't, it'd be hard, because it'd be like, yeah, I can't wait to retire. But for me, kind of like we've seen with Aaron Rodgers in football, with Brett Favre in football, like I told you, some people look forward to retirement, but it's like, right now, when it's done, I can't imagine what it's going to be like. Like, that is such a big part of my identity, of who I've been for the past 20 years. That's what was making me emotional there. You know, was that thought. Is that one day I'm not going to be able to do this. Like, even now, I'm at the point where I'm not actually physically working on the aircraft, but I get to pick up parts from time to time and look at them, you know, so at least yes. I have that feeling. But there's going to be a time when I can't even get through the gate.
Yeah.
That's going to be tough.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, I've always thought, like, with football, Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre, like, when they retire, like, I remember Brett Favre, like, they would give him so much shit about retiring and then coming back and then re-retiring. He's like, no, I'm done. And no, I'm coming back. And the Packers were like, what the fuck? Make up your mind already.
Right.
It's like, when you would watch him play, you would see him throw a pass to Donald Driver and he would catch it in the end zone. And Brett Favre would run to the end zone and fucking pick him up and celebrate with him. You could tell that he still had that passion of a kid. Now, imagine playing football from the time that you're 6 or 7, 8 years old, till the time you're fucking 45. You've competed. You've won a Super Bowl. You've been the most valuable player in the league. You still have that fire inside you, but you can't do it anymore.
Right.
Now you got to hang it up.
Right.
A lot of people were like, fucking make up your mind. I'm like, dude, I don't know if you understand what that feeling is.
Right.
And I remember that as a kid, you know? And I thought about that when I was in that museum. I was like, this is a big part of me. Yeah. And I'll always be looking up.
Aw.
Yeah.
This is so good. This is so good. You know, just, there's so much that you guys can take from this episode.
And there's been shitty times at work.
Yeah.
Holy fuck. There's been a lot of shitty times.
Yeah.
But I still appreciate it.
Yeah.
You know, like I said, you got to take those fucking moments. Those moments in between all the shitty times after getting your fucking head smashed in.
Yeah. And that's life, because in life you're going to get your head smashed in. Right? But you have to get up and continue to push through. And pushing through and getting over the humps is what gives you that feeling of, like, gratitude or winning,
accomplishment, of fulfillment,
all of that. That's where your joy lies. That there.
Yeah. And that and like I said, that only comes from things that are going to challenge you. It's not from easy shit.
Yeah.
that only comes from things that challenge you, like your career, your, some of your hobbies that you do, like just anything that you have a passion for that's going to make you better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aw, thank you for sharing your heart with us.
Yeah, that was fun.
I wanted to ask that question, and you did so well with expressing yourself on this podcast. And I wanted you to share that with everyone, because there are so many lessons within that moment that you had that people can use for themselves and what you're going through in life or your journey.
Yeah.
When you listen to this podcast, listen to it as if you were the one in Miguel's shoes. Like, look at your life. Look at the things that you're doing. And maybe by you sharing what you shared, you, the listener, can put yourself in that situation.
Yeah.
Because it all starts with gratitude. It all starts with self-reflection and asking yourself, are you putting yourself out there? Right? Are you
challenging
living?
yourself?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or are you skating by? Are you always looking for the easy way out?
And that is something that I've talked to you about recently, and I've mentioned here. Like, I do things that I'm passionate about, like I'm passionate about jiu-jitsu. I'm passionate about the podcast. And those are the things that you work on that give you those feelings, right? And a big part also of why I do stuff is for my family. Now, I do things that I push myself to do things that I'm passionate about. It feels good for me, but it also is for our family, like I've mentioned.
Yes.
Because I want our kids to have a direct example of someone who fucking did shit.
Yeah.
Like, didn't think about it, didn't always fucking just talk about it. Like, at a certain point, it's like, fuck it, let's do it.
Right.
Because I like I've always said, I think that is one of the things that hold people back the most. I really don't feel that I'm fucking special at all. I'm a regular person like anybody else. I've just been able to do some pretty special shit because I go for it. Because I try it. Because I'm like, what if? What if this fucking works for me? Not what if it all falls apart. That's not as negative as I can be. That is hardly ever my fucking thought. You know what I mean? That is kind of weird. Like, I am a realist about everything. Like, I don't know about that, and I don't know about this. But when it comes to what people are capable of, I'm fucking all about it. Because I know. At a certain point, like I've said here before, you can't tell me shit. Because I'm a regular dude that's done some crazy shit. So why not? Let's go for it. And that's why I said, actually, we're 4 months out from this tournament. I'm going to get started. Like, really, it's time to, like, really start making some changes. And right before the tournament starts, I got to start looking into this college class thing. Because, like I said, I'm taking that Harvard Business School class, certificate class. And that's next. And then after that, I'm going to work on some podcast stuff. But it's always going to be growth and working on something.
Yes.
And yeah, because there's so many times, like, people feel like success is so far removed. And I want our kids to fucking, like, see it. It was in my house. I saw my parents. Like, look at the business and the lives that my mom changed. Look at the things that my dad accomplished in his life. And the things that they've taught us.
Yes.
And then they're going to have all kinds of lessons. I remember that one time that they were fucking up all night doing this and that for I don't know how long. And they still got that shit,
Yes.
They're going to have tons of examples.
Yes. That's awesome. And with that,
thank you guys for being with us. Thank you for listening to the show. Make sure you guys go to our website and share it with the people that you know. Like we mentioned before, shop through that Amazon link and help us out whenever you guys go there, like you do all the time, like we do all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for your love. Thank you for your support. And thank you for watching Opposites Attract podcast.
Where we get better
together.
Bye.
Bye.